gyro, a little bit of variety. Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna, 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 Raksha. Krishna, 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 Radha. Krishna, 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 Mahima. Krishna, 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 Raksha. Rama, 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 Raksha. Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Raghava. Krishna, 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 Mahima. Krishna, 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 Mahima. Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna, 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 Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Jnanatmanasya Gyananjana Svakaya Sattvatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Vishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Manchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhuvescha Vijanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavam. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatkadesh Karine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Bhakti Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Jai.
Jai.
All right, so we are today discussing the demon Sankhacuda. In the Krishna book, Krishna, Srila Prabhupada calls him Shankasura. There's another Sankhacuda who is, well, we also hear about Sankhacuda in relation to Tulsi Devi and the origin of Shalagram Shila worship and Tulsi worship. And to be honest, I'm not sure if it's the same Sankhacuda or not. I didn't get a chance to dive deep into that. But my inclination is to say they're different because what I remember from the other pastimes, he dies in a very different way. And here, it's just, he kind of shows up and tries to run off with the gopis, and then Krishna kills him. So, I'm pretty sure we're dealing with a different Shankhacuda, but something to yeah.
Does he come as a conch shell?
Not as a conch, yeah. He has a, we'll hear from Srila Prabhupada, but it's some kind of decorative gem that looks like a conch.
Like a necklace or something.
Yeah, I think it's like some kind of amulet, some kind of something. So we'll read from Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book, the description of the pastime. It's pretty short. And then we'll just discuss a little bit the symbolism Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has extracted from the pastime. Pull up my notes. Krishna. Yeah. So, this is from the chapter Vidyadhara liberated, Sankhacuda killed. So, on a very pleasant night, Krishna and his elder brother Balaram, who are inconceivably powerful, went into the forest of Vrindavan. They were accompanied by the damsels of Brajabhumi, and they began to enjoy their company. The young damsels of Braja were very nicely dressed and anointed with pulp and sandalwood, and decorated with flowers. The moon was shining in the sky, surrounded by glittering stars. The breeze was blowing, bearing the aroma of malika flowers, and the bumblebees were mad after the aroma. Taking advantage of the pleasing atmosphere, Krishna and Balaram began to sing very melodiously. We usually don't pay attention to insects, but the way they're described in Vrindavan just makes them so attractive. Usually insects are like the last thing on our mind. But bees, their whole job is to collect pollen, and so if there's a nice warm breeze, blowing the pollen into the air. It's like they hit a jackpot, and so they're maddened by this aroma. Krishna is sometimes compared to a bumblebee in the midst of the flower-like gopi, and he similarly becomes maddened by the aroma and the beauty of the gopi. Taking advantage of the pleasing atmosphere, Krishna and Balaram began to sing very melodiously. The damsels became so absorbed in their rhythmical song that they almost forgot themselves. Their hair loosened, their clothes slackened, and their garlands began to fall to the ground. At that time, while Krishna, Balaram, and the damsels were so much absorbed, almost in madness, a demonic associate of Kuvera, the treasurer of the heavenly planet, appeared on the scene. The demon's name was Sankhacuda, because on his head there was a valuable jewel resembling a conch shell. It was a jewel resembling a conch shell. We call it Sankhacuda. Just as the two sons of Kuvera had been puffed up over their wealth and opulence, and did not care for Narada Muni's presence, this Sankhacuda was also puffed up over material opulence. He thought that Krishna and Balaram were two ordinary cowherd boys enjoying the company of many beautiful girls. Cowherd enjoying the company of many beautiful girls. Generally, in the material world, a person with riches thinks that all beautiful women should be enjoyed by him. Sankhacuda also thought that since he belonged to the community of Kuvera, he, not Krishna and Balaram, should enjoy the company of so many girls. He therefore decided to take charge of them. He appeared before Krishna, Balaram, and the damsels of Braja, and began to lead the girls away to the north. He commanded them as if he were their proprietor and husband. Despite the presence of Krishna and Balaram, being forcibly taken away by Sankhacuda, the damsels of Braja called out the names of Krishna and Balaram for protection. The two brothers immediately began to follow them, taking up big logs of shal wood in their hands. Shal trees, sometimes the pandamas are compared to shal trees. They're these massive, strong, like really powerful trees. And I can't remember if it's Lord Ramchandra or maybe Arjuna, but in to demonstrate his prowess, I think it might have been Lord Ramchandra, he shot an arrow through a series of shal trees, like 7, and it went into the earth and then came back out. So these trees, these shal trees. So Krishna and Balaram, they didn't just take up like, a little, like the trees down at Goloka Prema Dam, those things that Muhammad built the post out of. We're not talking about that. We're talking about like big, heavy-duty trees. They uprooted, and now they're chasing after this Sankhacuda. You can imagine what that would have felt like to be chased by Krishna and Balaram. Because his mistake was he thought they were ordinary mortals, and now they just uprooted these trees, and they're not gonna be messed with. So in the Bhagavatam it says that he perceived them to be just like time and death personified. I don't know which one was which, but they were pretty frightening duo. And he recognized, immediately that he had made a serious mistake. But he was already too late to, I guess he could have apologized and tried to take help. He didn't have enough mercy to do that. Yeah. Maybe Mahaprabhu's pastimes, he would have been able to do that. But now with Krishna, yeah, it was already, the whole thing was already underway. So, they pulled up the shal wood in their hands, and they said, "Don't be afraid, don't be afraid," they called to the gopis. "We are coming at once to chastise this demon." Very quickly, they reached Sankhacuda. Thinking the brothers too powerful, Sankhacuda left the company of the gopis and ran in fear for his life. But Krishna would not let him go. He entrusted the gopis to the care of Balaram and followed Sankhacuda wherever he fled. Krishna wanted to take the valuable jewel resembling a conch shell from the head of the demon. After following him a very short distance, Krishna caught him, struck his head with his fist, and killed him. He then took the valuable jewel and returned. In the presence of all the damsels of Braja, he presented the valuable jewel to his elder brother, Balaram. Thus ends the Bhagavad Gita 2/4 of the 34th chapter of Krishna. The Yajara liberated, demons killed. Hare Krishna. So it's a short description. A lot of these episodes of killing the demons are quite short, and as we've discussed, this is something that was happening regularly in Vrindavan as part of Krishna's pastimes in this material world, that he descended to kill demons and to save his devotees, and it's a very sweet rasa that he gets to relish, this chivalrous rasa, which he doesn't ordinarily get to experience, of actually killing demoniac entities and being the savior. So it's a very, very exciting and satisfying experience. And I'll read now Bhaktivinoda Thakur's description of what Sankhacuda represents. And there's, as we've seen already, there's a lot of overlap between the different demons and what they represent. And sometimes we're able to kind of understand slight distinctions. In this case, I had a few ideas, but to be honest, I'm not totally sure. I think this demon really is very similar to Kalandasura. The description that Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives for what this demon represents is very similar to that of Kalandasura. He says that Sankhacuda symbolizes desire for fame and desire for women. And that's from the Chaitanya Shikshamrita, and this is from the Krishna Samhita. The desire for gaining fame and sense gratification through bhakti is called Sankhacuda. This is the 16th obstacle. Those whose actions are motivated by a desire for fame are also proud. Therefore, Vaishnavas should always be careful of such persons. So one thing that we notice is this mentality is Sankhacuda, he thinks very highly of himself. Dave Manfred was bringing out in his class the other day how no matter what kind of a background we come from, these brahmanas in Vrindavan, they were very proud of their material position, and therefore they thought very little of Krishna, thinking him to be just a cowherd. But even if we're not a brahmana, no matter what kind of background we come from, we still find so many reasons to think very highly of ourselves. And the concomitant mood, or the accompanying mood for someone who thinks he's very great, is he thinks that everything, that I deserve everything, is a very entitled mood. And that's basically our modus operandi in this world, is that this world is here for my enjoyment. This idea of being the lord of material nature. Prabhupada uses the phrase lording it over the material energy. And so just like Sankhacuda, when we see a living entity, our most primal foundational instinct as conditioned souls is to think, how can I exploit this person? And it's very difficult to uproot that from the heart. How can I exploit this person? How can I engage this person in the service of my senses? And so the kind of one symptom that you can recognize in your own consciousness, if you're in a male body, it's there. For females, it's sometimes different, and depending on one's sexual orientation, it may be different. Whenever you see a female, a jiva in the female body, then the immediate impulse is to try to enjoy the beauty of that person, or evaluate their beauty, to consider, would this person be a good sexual partner for me. If not now, maybe later. You know, that's really the mentality of the conditioned soul, is to relate to every single person in that way. And and it doesn't help that our modern culture only glorifies that, and all of the propaganda. You know, government and the social institutions are meant to help elevate the consciousness of the people. But what's happening today is everyone's being degraded, because this idea that I am the Purusha Abhimana, this idea that I am the enjoyer, that all these living entities are here for my pleasure, that's being reinforced by everything we see in the media, on television, in advertisements. Every single industry is, just to buy a gallon of paint, you see some half-naked girl on the cover, on the paint bucket, on the paint can. What is she doing there? What does she have to do with paint, with painting your house? You just want to paint your house. And there's some half-naked girl selling you paint.
That's what she's doing.
That's what she's doing, is she's trying to catch your attention. Because the advertisers know that we're just like animals. That the human race is basically on the level of animals. In a dignified society, people would boycott such things. They wouldn't put up for it. The women would say, this is obscene. This is degrading. The men would have enough self-respect to totally disassociate. If a man was caught bringing home a gallon of paint that had a lady, an exposed woman on it, and his wife caught him, you know, or his father caught him, you know, or his grandfather caught him, it'd be you know, it'd be a disgrace. What are you doing? This is so low class. But our culture, we just have no question of what, we have no idea of what is proper and what is actually uplifting. We just take it for granted. Oh, what's the big deal? It's just the human body. We don't understand how that tendency to think everything belongs to me, even this woman's body, is meant for my enjoyment. How degrading that is for me. What to speak of the person that I'm interacting with. And the platform is a platform of mutual exploitation, that all relationships boil down to what can you do for me and what can I do for you. And it doesn't get any more sophisticated or wholesome or meaningful than that in this material world. So Sankhacuda is just another living entity in this world who totally embodies that principle of exploitation, so that immediately when he sees Krishna and Balaram and the gopis, he thinks, how come they get to enjoy the gopis? And that's every mundane scholar's reading of the Rasa Leela, is who is this libertine, Krishna? How come he gets all this attention? How come he gets all of these beautiful women? He must be just like me, trying to exploit them. And so Sankhacuda, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur describes that he doesn't actually touch the gopis, but he like has some stick, he kind of herds them away, scares them away, to kind of get them out of the association of Krishna and Balaram. That's mentioned in the BBT's purports to this section in the Bhagavatam. So, like that, when we're interacting with other living entities, we have to be very vigilant in remembering that this is a servant of Krishna. This is Krishna's part and parcel. This person is not at all here for my enjoyment. I am his servant. or I am her servant. All of the women in the world already belong to Krishna, already spoken for, already taken. They're not available. They're not available for me to enjoy in the mood of a Purusha. And so in the Vedic culture, we're trained, ideally, to see women as mother, someone to serve. Now, in the West, it's gone so to such a degree that there's this term MILF. Because we have absolutely zero dignity. We have absolutely zero self-respect. And so we've degraded everyone, including persons who are worshipable, to the status of a sex object. You know, as a society, we should be ashamed. We should be ashamed. The leaders should be ashamed. So it's helpful to contemplate on these things because we have to really divorce ourselves from this American culture. Andrew Pruitt said, the West really has nothing to offer Krishna consciousness. We should understand that actually we don't have, we need to take everything from the Vedic culture. We need to take everything, especially Krishna. But actually our Western culture is very degraded. And it's very important to understand how at the root of it is this entitled outlook. That I am the center, I am the enjoyer. So Sankhacuda herds the gopis, and then Krishna and Balaram chase after him, and immediately he realizes, what is he doing, you know? Here come time and death personified. And so he gives up his enjoying spirit and simply tries to at least run for his life. So eventually everyone is humbled by the time factor, one way or another. If they don't actually become humble, they are at least humiliated by their impending death. And they're forced to give it up and just cry. Please, no, you know. And it's very sad that the people who thought so highly of themselves, like Sankhacuda, I'm a relative of Kubera. You know, I'm great. I have all the money. I have unlimited wealth at my disposal. But what can that wealth do in the face of death? Or in the face of old age? So then Sankhacuda leaves the gopis, and Krishna entrusts the gopis to Balaram. Now this is interesting because Balaram, out of any other, let's say, man in all of existence, the only person who could possibly think highly of himself on the merit of his real qualities is Balaram. Balaram is equally qualified as Krishna in strength, intelligence, wit, beauty, everything. So all of us so-called men, we actually really don't have hardly any good qualities. You know, we're not that rich. We're not that intelligent. We're not that attractive. We don't have really that much to be proud about, and still we find something to be proud about and think that all the women in the world are meant for my enjoyment. And here's Balaram, who's actually a qualified person. He actually has all of the qualities as Krishna. But Krishna entrusts the gopis to his care, and not even a pinch, not even a grain of the enjoying spirit enters his mind. Because he's completely fixed in his mood of being a humble servant of his brother Krishna. That is his whole identity. is I exist to serve Krishna. And so that is the position of Lord Balaram, and that's the position of all true Vaishnavas and all Vaishnava gurus, is that even they may be decorated with all qualities, but they understand these qualities are coming from Krishna, and actually everything in existence belongs to Krishna. It belongs to Krishna. And so even we may be in a position of being a husband, but internally we should identify as a servant of this person. Or if we're a guru with disciples, or a teacher with students, we should think, I'm the servant of these devotees. And we should never think that these people are here for my sense of enjoyment, this mood of entitlement. Hare Krishna. I think that covers everything I wanted to say. All right, any reflections or comments or questions?
I mean, I'm not trying to.
That's all right. Yes, you are.
Well, Balaram does have his own gopis. I'm not saying that diminishes the value. Yeah, I'm not really sure where I was going with that. That thought had just come to mind.
What do we think about that? Yeah. Hare Krishna. I can't say I've thoroughly studied Lord Balaram and his pastimes with his gopis. But something I can say with confidence is that Lord Narayan, who's the king of the Vaikuntha, he's the Lord, the supreme Lord of all of the Vaikuntha planets, is Lord Narayan and various Vishnu forms who preside over the different Vaikuntha planets. He has so many devotees who worship him. He has his Lakshmi and so many different types of devotees. But even he identifies as a servant. And you could say that the ultimate purpose of all of that is to simply indirectly glorify Radha and Krishna and their pastimes in Vrindavan. That even Lord Narayan has all of his arguments at his disposal, but he's attracted. He's attracted to Krishna's pastimes. He gets more pleasure out of that than all of the service he's giving, all of the exchanges he has with his devotees. Because even these Vishnu tattvas, they expand from Balaram, they even identify ultimately as a servant of Krishna. It's described in the Brihad Bhagavatam that Lord Narayan will occasionally disappear from Vaikuntha. This is when Krishna descends to perform his pastimes, and Lord Narayan wants to experience that. So it's from a realization that there's actually more pleasure to be had. You know, this enjoying mood is, I want pleasure. You know, who can be blamed for that? It's not something we can blame anyone for, wanting pleasure. Really, there's no, it's just sad because when people are not properly educated, if they're ignorant, then they seek pleasure in the most useless of ways. Through gross intoxication, or rampant sex. Some people try to find pleasure by killing, whether it's hunting, which is a socially acceptable recreational activity in our culture, whether it's hunting or in grosser ways, like the happiness of a tiger as he chases down his prey and bites into the warm flesh and drinks the warm blood. That's pleasure for the tiger. So this is a sad grade of pleasure, very low grade. And when we hear the pastimes of Krishna and we get a taste for what it feels like to serve Krishna, which is what we're meant to do, then it's a pleasure that so far exceeds all of these other pleasures that we just become addicted to that. So for Balaram, as a Vishnu Tattva, and same from Krishna, sometimes he'll exhibit that mood. And like Narayan, he'll have his own devotion and so on. But his heart is, I'm a servant of Krishna. Because that's where he gets his real pleasure. That even, what to speak of Balaram, even Krishna wants to take the position of his own devotee. And therefore he comes as Chaitanya. Because that's where the pleasure is, being as a servant. And so he even gets a taste for that. What to speak of his expansions. Even Krishna himself wants to taste what it's like to be his servant. Hare Krishna. Jonathan, did you have any comments or questions? No. Hare Krishna. Well, I can read this verse. I had pulled down to the Srimad Bhagavatam on the screen. Maybe we'll end a little early.
If anyone online has any questions.
Sure, if anyone online has anything, you can chime in. This is from the teachings of Lord Rishabhdev. Sastriya mithuni bhavamekam tayor mito hridaya kranti mahu ato griha kshetra sutapta vitar janasya moho yamaham neti. The attraction between male and female is the basic principle of material existence. On the basis of this misconception, which ties together the hearts of the male and female, one becomes attracted to his body, home, property, children, relatives, and wealth. In this way, one increases life's illusions and thinks in terms of I and mine. So this is a repeated theme in the Srimad Bhagavatam, something we already touched on in the discussion. But one point I wanted to add was we need to understand that aversion and attraction are two sides of the same coin, this icha desha. And so that's one way that you can become a little bit distant from the mind, is to realize how unreliable a friend it is. I did a project not that long ago, like a year and a half ago, and the person I was doing it for, without kind of realizing, he said, it wasn't you. He said, "This is terrible." And he didn't really realize that he was talking in the presence of the person who did it. And then more recently, he said about the same project, "This is really good. Excellent. I love how focused it is, So it's just
same project.
Same project, same person, same mind. But one day rejecting, one day accepting. Because that's the business of the mind. Yes. no, yes, no, yes, no. This is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad. That's the business of the mind. So we have to detach from that. Because talk about a bad friend. Imagine you have a friend. It'd be so annoying to do anything with that person. They'd be so unpredictable. I thought you liked bowling. No, I hate bowling. You don't want to go bowling? No, let's go swimming. You get to the pool. Nah. But we're all dressed. We're ready to go. Nah, it's a little cold. Then we'll go bowling. What? Come on. We just decided we weren't going to go bowling. Oh yeah, I forgot. You know? That's our mind. Is we make the same mistakes again and again. We forget. And we say, oh, I didn't like that. Oh, but I thought you liked it. Well, yeah, I kind of do, but I kind of don't. That's the mind. So the solution to this Mituni Bhavam Ekam, this attraction between the female and the male, which we've already discussed is like the root problem, the spirit of entitlement, that these living entities are meant for my enjoyment. The solution is not to just become averse, to become falsely renounced. The solution is regulated engagement. Yukta vairagya, to be engaged according to the principles of Dharma, and to aspire to become elevated to a higher platform of consciousness. We want to be careful that we're not cultivating aversion in the name of renunciation. And so, Grihastha life is very powerful. It's the perfect course. Yeah. Okay, we'll be done in 2 minutes, okay? Can we wait 2 minutes? How about 1 minute? Okay. It's the perfect course for achieving true renunciation, because it gives you an opportunity to fulfill your desires, and at the same time gradually bring your heart to Krishna, to Krishna's lotus feet. So just because we identify as an enjoyer now, the solution is not to renounce everything. I'm not going to eat anymore. I'm not going to even look at a woman. The solution is to find ways to engage in Krishna's service from whatever platform. We don't want to get psyched out about our material life and think I can't do anything. I'm so sinful, I'm so polluted, and so on. That's all right. We should expect that when you're cleaning, there's going to be a lot of dirt that you're going to deal with. But unless you do the cleaning, that dirt's just going to stay there. And the most powerful cleaning we can do is chanting Hare Krishna. Mahaprabhu says, Cheto Darpana Marjana. It cleanses the heart of the degraded desires. So just by chanting Hare Krishna, we actually don't need to take shelter of any other dharma. Chanting Hare Krishna is sufficient. But whatever we do, wherever we're at, everyone can chant Hare Krishna and experience very quick progress. So the point is to just not become discouraged, but to become sober and to try to detach the mind from these perverted tendencies and just think about Krishna. Chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Krishna ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Krishna Bhakta.